Good morning, Chavara. Today is Beis Cheshvan, and we are on page 85 in the Chayenu. Michael, you with me? Friday, beautiful Friday morning. Shabbos is coming soon. But in today's lesson, 3 approaches, spiritual exercise to manage anger, based on seeing all circumstances as hashgacha pratis. 1, in worldly affairs, avoid it. Period. 2, in spiritual matters, where you can affect change, utilize it, as we'll soon see Moshe Rabbeinu did. And 3, in spiritual matters, if you are helpless, transcend it. It's just a test. So after we spoke these words of truth, that everything is hashgacha pratis, everything is divine providence. Let's return to the original subject concerning anger, where a person who is angry says is like an idolater. We know the famous saying that everything is in the hands of heaven except for fear of heaven itself. Since everything is in God's hands, there's no reason to become angry. However, with regards to matters involving the fear of heaven, anger does have a place. Let's see where. With respect to heavenly matters, to help and save a fellow Jew from doing an avera, doing a prohibition, the reason stated does not apply, for these matters are not in God's hands, but in man's. So that's, if we lack fear of heaven, as it's written, Moshe Kosov, Moshe, and Moshe was angry. What does this mean? V'hainu, Shom ki Hashem, hikra, l'fad of mitzazu, lafrushe mi'isura, ki leza'akoisoi. This was because God caused him to encounter the mitzvah of warding a fellow Jew from transgressing a prohibition in order to bring him merit. Thus, the situation is obviously quite different from being angry at someone because he was harmed or embarrassed or offended. That has no place. But to help another Jew, don't do that. If you do that, I'm going to get very angry. This applies only when one is able to prevent, by being angry at his fellow, to prevent him from doing an avera. In such a case, he's permitted to become angry as Moshe. Don't you dare do that. That's an avera. That's the only other time. That's the only time. However, if a person will not be able to change another person, if you won't be able to stop the other person, you go nochri hamidaber. Somebody who's disturbing him and confusing him while he's talking, and you're telling him during shh, don't talk. And the person's like, you're just getting me angry and annoyed. It's not going to help. Then what do we do? What has God done to this person? So why is a person getting angry? To stop the person from doing bad. But if somebody's doing something to disrupt, this is only in order that he prevail and strengthen himself evermore in his prayers from the depths of his heart. A person should, instead of being disrupted by the other person, you focus even more so on your davening. If you're being disturbed, that means you're not focusing enough on the davening and the kavanah. It's like a test, a reminder. You're not going to, if somebody's speaking outside, there's noise, there's distractions, you're not even going to hear it. It's amazing if you see, I've said this many times, if you see the Bachrim on the train and they're learning, and there's so much chaos going on around them, there's people in the train yelling and screaming and this, and the Bachrim are learning, they're learning data. Or they're trying to get someone to put on the phone, yeah. One needs to wake himself up and have an intense concentration and realize that he's not focused enough. The council suggested to attain such an arousal derives from this very subject. So what does he do? One should consider and meditate deeply on this idea that the Shekhinah descended down into this world, so to speak, and it is in Galus. It came from a beautiful place in order to have a spark of its radiance invested within the Klippa in this world. And it's literally animating everything around it in this dark Galus. And now, so sometimes it's a general thing, and sometimes it's more specific. And it's in the words of the person who's trying to disturb. You know, here it says it's a Gentile who's coming to disturb you. Could be somebody sitting next to you too. He didn't say that. But I'm saying that. And he's trying to disturb you from your Kavanas Tefillah. But who's giving him that power? Hashem gives life to everything. The Shekhinah and the divine presence gives the energy to everything and everybody to do whatever they're doing. So it's a test. As explained earlier, God created this, opposite that. Whenever there's something holy, whenever you're davening strong, you're going to have an even stronger disturbance. Whenever you're trying to be happy and you're trying to prepare for Shabbos and everything's going to be wonderful and good, right before Shabbos, you're going to see. You're going to see, by the way, happens all the time, happens to everybody. Suddenly it's like you get all frustrated and upset and angry. Why? It's Shabbos Kodesh. You should be the most joyous. The other side, the Klippa, tries to come to disturb you the most. There's always the opposite pole. The Dibur Elya and Mislavish v'Dibur Atachtoin. This indeed is the verse that man rules over man to his detriment, which was explained above in terms of the temporary dominion of the evil man of Klippa over the sacred man. That just like we're in Galus now and we're dominated by the Goyim, we don't have a Jewish king, and so too spiritually we're dominated by the Yetzer Hara and the evil influences. Imagine you could daven so well that you don't even hear the other person talking. And I know there are people that live near the trains in Manhattan, in Brooklyn, and wherever. They don't even know that. You're like, God, how could you live with that? No, we don't even hear it. You get so used to it, you overcome it. You train yourself to not hear it. Sharsa. As for the compiler of the Tzavos Harivash, including the words using the word Sharta, meaning that the Shekhinah dwelt or abided within this person. He was unable to focus on the precise term. Baal Shem Tov, blessed memory, used to deliver Torah in Yiddish and not in holy tongue. So sometimes when it was translated, it was misconstrued a little bit. Nislabsha, not Sharsa, dwelt or abided. He wanted to say he became invested. It implies that the Shekhinah was revealed. Within Nislabsha means that the Shekhinah was vested in a state of exile. It's not that the Shekhinah dwelt in Galus. It was invested in Galus. It was involved in every single thing that goes on. Even the test that you get when you're trying to do something good and somebody comes to try to disturb you. And this distinction explains the emphasis in the Tzavos Harivash, and especially if he's a Gentile. Were we to be speaking of a manifest indwelling of the Shekhinah, how could we say that divine presence resides to a greater extent within the Gentile who's disturbing a Jew during the time of davening? Rather, we're speaking of a self-obscured investiture of the Shekhinah within the Gentile. Sha'oz hi b'chinas galus b'yoser. So the Shechina in general is in a galus, and how much more so someone who's trying to disturb you. I don't know if that made any sense, but whatever. There's no need to wonder at a spark of radiance of the Shechina being referred to in Tzavah Serivash Shechina. Why? The Ha'ashkechon Shafilu Malach Nivra Nikra B'Shem Hashem B'Parshas Vayera Leferush HaRambam K'meshkaso Atikra Shem Hashem Ha'Dovrei Le'Havkolu K'Gavna Tuva. We find that even a created angel, which is not a spark of godliness, is referred to by God's name. And we say this in Parshas Vayera in the Pasuk, and Hashem said, do not pass by your servant. No, I'm sorry. And he said, Hashem, do not pass by your servant, according to the commentary of the Ramban. As it says, and likewise that Hagar called the name of Hashem who spoke to her, where we are explicitly told that we're speaking of an angel, and many more passages like this. What's the takeaway here? Becoming angry is compared to idol worship. We should never come to pass. This is true when it comes to worldly matters. Something happens to you. And then you're all angry and upset and tempers fly. You have to realize that Hashem decided this is going to happen. When it comes to spiritual matters, we need to display the anger if it will prevent a transgression. So if you could stop somebody and you could forcefully tell them, don't do this. However, if you're not going to be able to affect the person, then you should instead worry about yourself. Look within yourself. Why is this particular thing coming to my attention? Maybe I got to work on it. So especially when it comes to davening and during Kaddish and during whatever spiritual pursuit you're trying to do, and somebody's coming to disturb you, if you know for a fact he's not going to listen to you anyway, so then look within yourself. Maybe I have to have more concentration. Maybe this is not the right place for me. Maybe I have to set up my boundaries better, give myself more space, whatever it is. But we all know that we could certainly use the inspiration to focus better on davening anyways. And I think just in general, when it comes to anger, and it's very hard to influence people, it's very hard to change people, let's just be careful not to get angry. Because as the Alter Rebbe mentioned, based on different sources, it's a very, very, very fine line. If you get angry, you don't believe that Hashem caused this thing to happen. So that's, I think, where we're at. Not so much yelling at somebody else because of something that he's going to do or not going to do. Anyways, Chevra, it's almost Shabbos Kodesh, and everyone prepare for Shabbos, and don't let the Yetzer Hara get you upset, especially right before Shabbos. It's just, that's his job. Don't feel bad for him. That's his job. Let him do his thing, just like the Tsar. I hope he lives and prospers, just far, far away from me. All right, take care, everyone. Have a good Shabbos.